Hello and welcome to the White Room in Conversation, another episode. We are in Bristol today because our guest is based here in Bristol. It's film composer Alexandra Hamilton-Ayres. We kind of invited ourselves into her place, but she's also hosting us. Yeah, thank you very much. I'm really looking forward to talk to you about your film compositions, you as a film composer.
Thank you.
Usually the first question I ask is, why do we meet here? Once again, we kind of invited in ourselves, but I think...
Yeah, but at the same time, it's my happy place.
Yes.
So, yeah, it makes sense. I've got all of my wonderful things on the wall.
Yeah, so the first, let's say, proper question I really want to ask, I'm really interested in why have you become a film composer? And how? Why and how?
It's an interesting one. So my dad was a film director and writer. So I guess my very early exposure to film was him. And my mum also had a piano at home. She played piano a lot when I was younger. And I was always curious about that. So it was a kind of accidental combination of what my parents do. I always loved film, and I love the way that music had such a effect on how you felt towards characters, and the psychology of it all is really interesting. Yeah, I sort of ended up studying art. I'm quite creative in sort of painting and the visual side of things, and love working with dancers, things like that. So then, moving visual arts, and then I moved towards film. And as my dad keeps saying, you found your way back to where it all began.
But film directing was never an option for you, so it was always the musical side.
No, I'm interested in the direction side of it very much. And actually even did a bit of theatre direction stuff at university, and a bit of choreography with dance and things. So it's nice to know it from that aspect, because you then know you kind of understand who you're working with, and understand the minds behind people and how they're putting things together creatively. But yeah, it was always the music side that sort of really got my goosebumps going.
Yeah, nice. So your studies weren't actually film composing, so it was more a general arts, creative...
So at school I studied art, music and psychology.
Okay.
Probably, arguably the best three that I could have chosen to end up in this career. And then I decided to apply to do a music degree. I was between doing a music and an art degree. And I did a unit in art criticism because I was still interested in the art side. And I said I didn't want to perform. I went, I don't want to perform at all.
Okay.
So I did this instead, art criticism. And I don't know why I didn't do the performance. It's just I was very anti it at the time, because composition was my sort of thing that I wanted to sort of focus on. Yeah, so I studied that for 3 years here in Bristol, and then I just sort of, spent a bit of time. I wrote some opera, and then I worked with a circus theatre company. So I just I got more and more involved in the visual side of things. And then I did an MA in composition for film and TV, which was very, very specific. So that more for me was, I was doing a lot of stuff in theatre here, and I decided, okay, I want to push myself in the film direction. Yeah. And I wanted to validate my knowledge of learning how to use software, things like that, because I'm still very much a pen on paper composer.
Okay.
And then, I'm sort of here now, and career's kind of...
Finding your way.
Yeah, finding my way slowly, but surely.
Cool. Yeah, that definitely leads to my next question. So what are, for you, the main challenges of being a film composer?
I think certainly, so I'm just in my early 30s, and I think going from being in my 20s, being taken seriously enough at an age is really, really difficult. There are definitely a lot of projects which I felt like I could have worked on, but some people would say, oh, well, you haven't got the experience, and sort of it's that vicious cycle of having the experience in doing something, but also feeling like you're very much able to do it, and people trusting that feeling and trusting that they know that you can do something as well. It is a challenge.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely agree. Obviously not from a film composing perspective, but also, you know, when it comes to job descriptions, like you need at least 3 or 5 years of experience, but to get to that level, you obviously have to work certain jobs. You know, it's like this, okay, yeah, I would love to get that experience, but it's kind of, it's
hard work.
It's hard work, yeah.
Just be involved as much as you can, and trying to meet people. I think it's very important to sort of, not put people on a pedestal, and everybody's human at the end of the day, and just to meet people and all chat together and just explain what you do and what your passions are and where you want to go in life. It kind of, I think that helps. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Meeting the right people.
Yeah. And I think it's still the best way to actually build relationships is meeting people, not just sending out an email, introducing
For sure.
yourself.
And I
really think showing your people, your face, your personality, your whole the whole package in a way.
And I think social media has helped with that in some respect, because it's a softened approach to meeting people, because it's not a cold email.
Do you feel it's more difficult for you in that business of film composing as a woman? What's your experience with that? I mean, when it comes to
I think the hardest thing is when you are... It's what people perceive to be a composer. And I was talking about it. I mean, it comes from a very early child bias. If you ask a kid to draw what a composer looks like, they're not probably going to draw a woman.
No.
They're probably going to draw some old Baroque guy in a wig. And I mean, even now, if you look at, the big, I don't know, we call them the guys who, and I say the guys because they are the guys who are well known for film composition. I mean, the amount of time, if I talk to someone about film composition who doesn't know too much about the industry, they say, they say the big names that we all know.
Yeah.
And that's what you're kind of up against, I guess. The technical things, that's become it's becoming more and more prominent in the scene, and it's nice that there's more females too. Yeah.
Something that really interests me is actually what is the process like when it comes to film composing? When do you get involved, or do you get an idea from someone who's working on the film? Do you see pictures already?
So it's very different for each project, but I think one of my favourite points of getting involved is when you start with the script and you're involved very, very, very early on with the director. And you get a chance to sort of develop the characters completely fresh with no bias from the film already. And I think that can lead to some really good results. I've also been working with choreographers with one film, which has been a really interesting dynamic, working backwards and forwards between the director and the choreographer. And I start, because it's complicated. Where do you have the music first, and then you dance to it, or and then where does the director come in terms of movement direction, in terms of actually knowing where the edits are going to be on the final film and things. So it's a really interesting process, but I would say always, like, the earlier on people get composers involved, it's always more and more interesting.
Yeah, especially because I imagine you're almost able with your music to also then shape characters
exactly.
and be involved in the whole creative process.
Yeah, exactly. So then you become really quite a sort of fundamental element from early on. But also it does happen in post-production as well. And
cool. Okay. We are already at the end, really, again. You have an EP coming out. That's something we should definitely mention.
Yes, 17th of May. So it's 1988 is the year of my birth. And also I decided to name the EP that because it's my first EP out. There'll be an album later on, but we can talk about that another point.
Absolutely, yes.
And so it's piano electronics, and yeah, really my own sounds. So
Cool.
look forward to everyone hearing
Yeah.
it.
Okay, and it will be available on the usual
platforms. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, yeah, we would definitely promote that on our channels. So yeah, really looking forward to that. Yeah, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for letting us into your space here. And yeah. Today we've been to Bristol. You can actually see everything of Bristol that you need to see in a way. Was that a negative way of saying it? No, I don't think so. We've got water, we've got boats, there's actually like a small train that will hopefully be in the picture in just a moment. We've got sun, and I feel like every time I'm doing an outro of some sort, it's windy and it's rather fresh, and this is already May. We visited Alexandra today, a film composer. I hope you really enjoyed the conversation as much as I did. Thanks for hosting us here and showing us around. And it really was. We will share all the information you need about her work on our channels. And yeah, we really look forward to the next episode of the White Women Conversation. So see you next time.